episode of Quilt with the Stars is brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing, and Koala Cabinets, sewing furniture custom built in America. Hi, welcome to Quilt with the Stars. I'm Mary Fons. I'm here with Deb Tucker. Deb, welcome to Quilt with the Stars.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, this is a really great episode, a great portion of Quilt with the Stars, the trunk show.
Oh, yeah.
Deb is a master quilt educator, and I called you a quilt engineer earlier when we were talking together today, because you are an engineer of great tools for quilters.
Well, I'd like to think so. I try to create the tools that make our lives easier.
Amen.
It's just so much nicer to have a tool that takes the stress away.
It takes the stress away and creates beautiful results. And so
Correct.
Today we have this trunk show. We have so many quilts. Don't move a muscle. Just stay with your eyes glued onto the screen, because we have, gosh, almost a dozen, maybe more.
Oh, I don't know.
Let's get started. Tell me about this quilt on the wall.
This is a quilt. We call it Lynx. It was actually in Fons and Porter magazine. That was on the front cover in September, October 2012.
That's
and
right.
It uses my Rapid Fire Lemoyne Star tool to make those Lemoyne Star blocks, 6-inch and 9-inch sizes. And then it also uses my wing clipper tool to make those, the little pieces that surround the smaller star.
I remember this quilt. We had this on the show.
Yeah, it's a pretty one. I like it.
Very cool. And how about this next one? Tell me about this darling
one is
basket.
actually, it's a fairly early quilt that I designed. We call it, it's a 4-block Carolina lily, but it has no Y seams. It was made with flying geese units, and in those borders, those are what we call migrating geese. It's an interesting technique. All those triangles simply came from squares. I generally do not cut individual triangles and create them. Everything is done with processes that allow me to make it with less stress.
The flowers almost look like trapunto.
They are.
They
are.
Gorgeous.
They're just the back of the flowers and the back of the leaves and the stems are trapuntoed.
Very, very cool. And then how about this guy right over our shoulder?
This one here is, was actually asked to teach in a couple cruises last year.
Cool.
And this was the quilt that I designed for the cruise. It uses, again, the Lemoyne Star in the center, 4-inch and 6-inch sizes. And then it uses two of my other tools, the V-block tool and the square tool, to create all that piecework that goes around the border.
Did you go to the Caribbean by chance?
We did.
Because those colors are like
well, we called it trade winds.
Nice.
Trade winds. So that's warm trade winds.
Way cool.
Yeah.
Let's come down to the table. This is a miniature version of the quilt we just saw.
Of the 4-block Carolina lily. It is. And I designed that quilt to work with my wing clipper tool, which is a tool that works with flying geese units. Those flying geese units were 2-inch by 4-inch. All of these little flying geese units are 1-inch by 2-inch. But they both use the same tool, which is kind of nice. So it's
you can use the same one to get lots of different sizes.
Lots of different sizes, right?
And you said you used to make a lot of miniature quilts.
I did years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get back into doing some more miniatures.
I've never tried one. Maybe I should get your tool and figure it out.
They're a little more challenging than you think.
Yeah.
So
I'm ready. Okay, and tell me about this next one.
This one is actually one of the Rapid Fire Hunter Stars.
Yes, that's right.
This is the 6-inch version. This is a sample project that comes along with the set of instructions. This is a 4-color option where you've got 2 different colors in the background and 2 different colors for your star points. And it's a simple, easy strip piecing process that no Y seams and easy. And doable.
No Y seams. And I love the monofilament thread, or the
It was actually a sparkle fabric.
Oh, was it really?
It was an old timeless treasure fabric, and it had sparkle right in it.
Awesome.
And so it's the fabric, not the thread.
Cool. Well, that's
okay.
Great. I always like a little sparkle.
This is we got a thread on there. Well,
you've been working.
Yeah, that's exactly
girl.
right. This is what we call Rangeley Stars. It's actually made from hourglass units. I don't know if you know what an hourglass unit is. It's a square that has the 2
quarter square triangles. Usually,
quarter square triangles. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But you take the quarter square triangle and you chop a little bit off the bottom, and what you do is you have this kite shape with these smaller triangles, and you never had to deal with the odd shapes. It's a pattern that I've developed.
Wait a minute. This is a quarter square triangle. This is an hourglass unit chopped.
It is.
Oh, I see.
This was a larger hourglass unit, and what I did was chop a little bit off the bottom. So all these little ones.
She's sneaky, is what she is. Sneaky.
I'll use every trick in the book to get my quilts finished. I don't know how you guys are, but that's the point. So
that's really clever.
And I developed this. I have 3 different patterns for this particular project. One pattern is a table runner that just uses the medium-sized star, and then we have the wall hanging here, and then I couldn't quit making these things once I got started and realized how easy it was. So I ended up with a queen size quilt.
It happens.
And it's a killer. It's a real pretty quilt. Done with scraps.
Yeah, absolutely. Use those scraps. Lovely. Let's kind of.
Oh yeah, this is we call this one Oakridge Stars. I happen to live in an area that's called Oakridge, and again, it's the hourglass unit here.
Yes.
Developed a tool. One of the early tools I developed was called my Tucker trimmer, and it's a tool that allows me to trim these things down very quickly and easily because they've got diagonal guidelines.
Yeah.
We're seeing pieces that have diagonal seams. So we use the hourglass units to create all the border areas, and then in here we use a unit that I call a combination unit.
Yes.
That's a combination of 2 quarter square triangles and a half square triangle. And we've got a 4-inch version here and a 2-inch size here and 4-inch pieces out here, and they were all made with one tool.
Love it. I love it when quilts do a few stars together like that. I love combining stars. It's so neat. It's such a great effect.
Yeah, and then when you do it at the intersection, you have the same thing.
Yep.
You have the same. So these are 2 basic, simple units. Once you learn how to use the tool, that's all you need. And every building block is exactly the right size before you start.
I'm going to take this over here, actually.
You put that one over there?
Yep.
Okay.
Before you start, exactly. And you know, you can go to Studio180Design.
.net, not .com, but Studio180Design.net.
And that'll tell you about, tutorials are there, shop is there,
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff. More about Deb, all that good stuff.
Yep.
How about this batik beauty?
Oh, this was so much fun to make. These elongated star points are normally a real tough unit to produce well and produce accurately.
Either paper piecing or a template, right? You're messing with that usually.
Right. And what I've developed is a tool that allows me to cut the center and the side triangles with a little bit of extra fabric built into them.
Really?
Yes, so that when you put them together, the sewing is real simple. I mean, if pieces are too big when you start, you don't have to stress when you're at the sewing machine. Sew them all together. The major part of the tool is has the diagonal lines to trim it down to a precision piece. So every single unit is exactly the right size and the seams are right where you want them to be.
You're always accurate.
Exactly. The building blocks are the right size.
Unless you cut it wrong, unless you trim it like really crazy. Then you're on your own.
Really crazy. And you can do that, you know. Ask me how I know some of that stuff, you know. But this is a great quilt. It's actually made with 2 star blocks. You see the orange star block here, but when you look at the block that's beside it, what you see is there's another star block in there, but that star is actually hidden in what looks like a chain. So you have a quilt that looks like it has all these curves.
You just blew my mind because I didn't see that star at all.
Of course you didn't.
I did not.
That's why I pointed it out to you.
She's sneaky. I said she was sneaky. Okay.
Well, you know, if I can do it easier, I'm going to do it easier.
Before we do the reveal on this next quilt, you got to tell me about Marie.
I do. Marie Bostwick, I met her a couple years ago, turned out to be one of my very dearest friends.
Cool.
And soon after I met her, she actually approached me with an idea, and I thought it was a great one, about actually designing the quilts that she writes about in her books.
Marie Bostwick is a New York Times best-selling author, and many of our viewers probably know exactly who she is.
And this is her latest book. It's released this spring.
Between Heaven and Texas.
Between Heaven and Texas. And this is, when I design a quilt for Marie, I design a free one that goes on her website.
Great.
And anybody who is one of her reading friends has access to that. And I also design one that's a little more involved. Has a little bit more going on, requires a pattern. Sometimes it requires a tool, but this, she wanted me to send that to you.
Thank you. I will share it with Mom. I will share it with Mom.
Yeah, please.
And so your quilts, you work with Marie to incorporate some of your quilts in the story and then also on the website.
Right.
And the quilt underneath is one of those quilts, right?
The last quilt that's on the table is one of those quilts. This was actually the very first quilt that we collaborated on. In her book, A Single Thread, there's a young gal who's engaged to be married. She's a 21-year-old art student. I mean, doesn't this look like an art student?
Oh, nice, yep.
And Marie just gave me the parameters. It had to be bright, it had to be Hunter Star, and this was Liza's engagement quilt.
Oh, nice.
So that was our first collaboration, and for the book that you just received.
Drum roll, please.
The quilt is not quite finished, but the top is done.
Whoa!
This is about a gal from Texas, and so it incorporated the Lone Star because it was Mary Dell's home state, and it also had to be in red, white, and blue. And then other than that, I was allowed to have some free reign here. So we have the Lone Star in the middle, we have my rapid fire Lemoyne Star around the outside edges, and it's a knockout.
It is a knockout.
Isn't it
it's
pretty?
A stunner, and it's ready to be quilted.
It's ready. Yep. Very soon it's going to be off to the machine quilter to to be finished up as a real quilt.
Gorgeous. Deb, thank you so much for coming on Quilt with the
thanks.
Stars. I mean, you get a quilt show in your home. You didn't even have to leave home or do anything. And these are absolutely stunning. And thank you for making these beautiful quilts.
Yeah.
This episode of Quilt with the Stars is brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing, and Koala Cabinets, sewing furniture custom built in America.